Happy Wednesday, everybody. Chris here, ROCKNPOD Insider for 5/29/24. Joined by a familiar face if you've been to past ROCKNPODs, but hair much longer, much like mine. Lee McCormack, how you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. How's it going, eh?
Good, man. It's good to catch up with you. And we had the big exciting news yesterday. ROCKNPOD has been announced for 2025, and it's going to be on April the 11th through the 13th. And why don't I just go ahead and play the promo video real quick, because I worked really hard on it. So let me show it off one more time. Well, we'll be showing it off several times over the next few weeks, but here's the announcement if you didn't see it yesterday.
In 2017, we had an idea. Bring together music podcasts, fans, artists, and vendors to celebrate all things rock. And we did. Again, and again, and again, and again. In 2025, the tradition continues in Nashville. Join us April 11th through the 13th, 2025 for ROCKNPOD Weekend. Full details, tickets, VIP, and podcast registration available now at NashvilleRockandPodExpo.com.
And there it is. So yeah, it's official.
All right, I'm excited, man. I'm going to go to this one.
Yeah, no, it's been 2019 last time, or was
I
it
went to the first three, and then I guess number 4 was sort of during COVID, and then Canadians couldn't get across the border then.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then
Had several friends.
You did, was it March 2023 you did one?
3.
Yeah. So that one I went to see Springsteen in Milwaukee like the first week of March. So I couldn't really swing 2 road trips like in March.
How do you pick Springsteen over ROCKNPOD? I mean, what's wrong with you?
I had to do it, man. You don't know how many shows we got left with this guy, so I had to.
I had
to do it, man.
Completely being facetious there. No, if you can, how many times have you seen Springsteen live?
Not as many. Being the big Springsteen fan and having the Springsteen podcast, I've only seen him about maybe 12, 13 times, right? So it's not in the high numbers like a lot of Springsteen fans are, but
that's a lot to me, though.
Yeah, it's great. He's so great. Yeah, one of the best live shows out there of all time.
Yeah, for those of you watching, so Lee was the longtime host of Tramps Like Us, a Bruce Springsteen podcast, and I noticed, and I had you send me a little bio info so I could use that for the announcement. But I noticed you mentioned you stopped hosting it last year, huh?
Yeah, I ended it right at the end, like December 26th, I think was my last show. And you know what, Chris? I just peaked, man. I just peaked. I hit the top. I'd said everything I wanted to say. I kind of reviewed every album. I kind of done it all. And I was, to be honest, I was kind of getting a little, I don't know, the editing is tough, eh? And with my show, like I really like to drop in musical clips and sound bites and stuff like that and do a lot of editing with my shows. So I set this like kind of a higher bar, when I started doing the shows, and I just kept it at it. So I would do a show and it would take me 4 or 5 hours to edit each show. And it was worth it, but I kind of lost some of the desire to put into all that editing and work,
I noticed there are great shows out now, but it does feel like the shows where a lot of clips and stuff are being done in that, I feel like we're kind of a dying breed. It's very, a lot of rock, at least a lot of rock podcasts have just gone bare bones, just talk. But
yeah,
I don't know. We still like to spice it up with our stuff too.
I mean, and the talking is the essence, right? Getting together with a couple of buddies and just talking, shooting your ideas back and forth. But, I always like the concept of putting together almost like a quasi radio show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I did it because I like to listen to my own shows, right? Like I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something on the Darkness on the Edge of Town record. So let me talk about this and let me put a clip here and let me talk about this one moment. And actually here is that moment. And here's a funny little sound clip. And, we go off on a side tangent. Here's a little, something, a little joke in there, So that's the fun stuff I love to do. But, it got a little bit tedious after 8 years almost. So.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, yeah, I remember when we were starting Decibel Geek, early on, I started prodding air, and I'm like, man, because I saw Kiss podcast, and anytime we did anything Kiss related, the numbers were so much bigger. Yeah. And I was just tempted by that. And I'm like, why don't we just become a Kiss show? Because I was like, I know we have the knowledge. Why not? And he rightfully talked me out of it because he's like, we're going to get so burned out on Kiss, man. He's like, well, I want to talk about other bands. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of do too. So that's why the compromise was the whole Christmas in July thing that we've done, a few times. And every year that we do that, we learn by the end of July, we're both like, I can't wait to not talk about Kiss for a while.
Yeah, that's one of the things I thought too, is like doing this Bruce Springsteen podcast. Like, I love Springsteen, but am I going to get sick of it? Am I going to get like tired of listening to these songs? It was actually the opposite. My fandom went to a whole new level doing this podcast and doing the research and doing an album review and then going in depth and doing all that research. I ended up liking the material that much more after doing this kind of analyzing and talking with friends about it and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. And from what I gather, I'm not an expert by any means, but Bruce and his crowd and his band, the E Street Band and all, I don't know that I've heard about that much drama within that band. So the research you're doing is just regular information. It's like, you don't have to worry about somebody's makeup design being stolen or, it does. There's not the soap opera level of drama that comes with a Kiss show.
Yeah. I mean, there is some drama, but not to the level of like the hard rock, heavy metal community and all the stuff that goes on with that,
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's cool though. I mean, and just for you, I decided, cause I am a complete surface listener of Springsteen. I know the hits, and every now and then I've pulled out a record just to check out more of the deep cuts, but I've never really given them a real try. But today I listened to, at your suggestion, 78 Live at the Agora in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I got up to the big hits at the end, which, I mean, I knew what those were going to sound like. So I kind of wanted to hear the rest of the show. And few takeaways. I get why Bruce is as big as he is, because you can tell from the energy of the live band doing their thing and the crowd response and his raps in between. And it's not even a rap. It's just him talking to the audience. You could tell that it's probably a really cool feeling, especially when he was in his prime, to see that band. So I get that. On the other hand, what I think I figured out what it is I don't like about Bruce Springsteen's material, or at least it seems like the guitar is so lost in everything. And I'm a guitar first person, especially the live stuff, because I'm not hearing a whole lot of little Steven on a lot of that stuff. I mean, I know he's there, but it's just, you hear so much more of the drums and the horns with Springsteen than you really hear the guitar.
Yeah. Well, it's only one horn, right? It's only clearance. It's not a horn.
Yeah, just one horn.
Big man, right? So that's a strong horn. That one man is almost a horn section, right? And you got to think the band Springsteen has together, right? Like it's not like a 4-piece rock band like Cinderella or something like that, right? He's got like an 8-piece band, and that's the small version of the E Street Band, right? He's got a guy on organ and a guy on keyboard, right? And then you're talking about not being able to hear Stevie Van Zandt on guitar. Like Springsteen does like 80% of the guitar solos on.
Oh, really?
Live, right? So it's all the guitars is basically him. Steven will come in there Steven's basically a rhythm guy, and he'll get a couple of solos, right? But Springsteen is the big soloist in that band. But I don't know. But those live shows in '78, I think that's when the E Street Band kind of solidified, coming off the first 3 records, Born to Run, Darkness on the Edge of Town. Then you finally get Max and Roy in the band, and the live show they put together that summer '78, and they released all these soundboards, these radio broadcasts were like for so long. And that show, I just think, is just top notch. Like the way he paced the set list and the performance by all 7 members of that band is just incredible.
Yeah. Pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, it was, and I did notice the more I listened to it, the more I did get into it. So, maybe I just need to go down the path a little further and listen to more of his stuff.
You got to make that connection with the music, right? Like you hear the hits and the surface of the guy, and you'd be like, that's all right. But all of a sudden you just got to make that connection, whether it be seeing him in live or just that one song that hits you. And then as soon as you connect with the guy in the band, it just becomes a whole new level. That was for me. Like when I first saw them I didn't see them until 2000, that reunion tour. But when I first saw him live, I just was like, this is like a religion to me,
Yeah.
He really has a way of connecting with the crowd and performing on a different level than, many other musicians.
And another takeaway I had, because I did grow up a Bon Jovi fan, was obviously the similarities were obvious even before I ever listened to really much of any Springsteen. You could hear that John wanted to be Bruce. Yeah. But then hearing more of that, like that concert, I was like, oh my God, John Bon Jovi like apes so much of Bruce Springsteen's, like even his speaking to the crowd. He's even rips him off with that. And so, which I guess I get, it's done out of respect, but it's also so obvious.
Yeah. Like Springsteen has that way of kind of like being a little bit funny with the crowd, right? Like he'll do a little joke and just, and I hear John Bon Jovi does that a little bit too, when we speak to the crowd and stuff like that, trying to connect with the audience the way Springsteen does,
What do diehard Springsteen fans think of Bon Jovi?
Well, I don't know. I don't like Bon Jovi at all. Like I can pick a couple of songs on one hand that I like. I have problems with Tico Torres is one of my most hated musicians. I think he's just awful.
Really? Is he that bad? I don't
know. It's something about him, just the way he looks. I don't know. He only plays quarter notes. Like, he doesn't play eighth notes. He's just like a quarter note guy, and I don't know. He's just kooky, and and that guy on the keyboards with the little permed hair. Like I like Richie though. I like Richie Sambora. I was on an episode of podcast and we were talking about Bon Jovi songs, and I couldn't pick Bon Jovi songs that I liked, but I was able to pick a Richie Sambora solo song that I liked. He put a solo album out like in the late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah, you're probably thinking Straight. It's a great album. That's a
good record, and I like his voice even better than John Bon Jovi.
Oh, me too. Yeah,
he's got a great voice.
Yeah, I always said he was definitely the higher talent in the band, and I mean John's a good writer. I'll give him that, but I didn't know it because I'm guessing you don't dive into the Bon Jovi catalog much, so you probably mostly know the hits, right?
Yeah, like I know like New Jersey and Slippery and Wet. That's about it. And also Bed of Roses. That song is Panty Dropper. When I was on the cruise ships there, I would put that song on, and the girls would line up, man. Just you put that song on, man. Bed of Roses. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. That's a defined power ballad. But no, what I'd like to do, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a playlist together of the songs that I hear John completely ripping off Bruce. And it's going to send you into a rage because I was hearing the Bruce concert today, and I'm like, man, if Bruce fans heard some of the Bon Jovi deep cuts where John's trying to do the story songs about him and his girl, we're gonna run across the border and all that. It sounds just like Bruce.
Well, there's that one song in New Jersey. Is it like Blood on the Tracks or something like that? Is that one Blood on the
Blood on Blood?
Blood on Blood. Yeah, that's the song. That song total.
That's a total Bruce steal.
Off with the piano and everything. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I always wondered if Springsteen fans just kind of thumb their nose at Bon Jovi because he's kind of a Bruce wannabe.
Yeah, Springsteen light diet Springsteen or whatever,
But then in the Bon Jovi documentary, they're just kind of, why am I talking so much about Bon Jovi? But anyway, the Bruce is in the documentary. I guess him and John are like really, really good friends. So yeah, it talks about they go on drives together and stuff and hang out. But yeah, I don't know what a conversation that must be.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to ROCKNPOD. So I'm trying to remember. I mean, I know you were doing the show. I know it was just a whole group of shows because see, like you came into the picture at ROCKNPOD. I think I met you for the first time at ROCKNPOD. I wasn't really aware of you. Who was it that turned you on to it? Was it BJ?
Yeah, it was BJ Cramp that kind of brought me into the fold. He's the one that kind of got me into doing podcasts because I think like a lot of podcasters, we start as listeners. And then you start having these one-sided conversation with your podcast, and you're like, I agree with that point, but I disagree with that. And you start like wanting to talk to these guys. So I think I reached out to BJ, and we started having a conversation. He invited me on his show, and then he said, you should just start doing podcasts yourself. So I started doing it, and he's like, yeah, you should come to ROCKNPOD. And that's where I kind of met the whole community and made some good friends. Yeah, that was a really fun weekend there that in 2017 we did the first one.
But yeah, and a big part of the reason I wanted to have you on today is because something we're going to talk about that's happening next year that we're bringing back that we haven't done since 2019. Because in 2019 was in a hotel, but we had a breakout room that was not anywhere near hotel rooms, so we were good. And then in 2021 we couldn't do it because the rooms were on top of the ballroom, and the hotel just would not let it happen. And then last year we just had a lot going on and we just didn't get around to putting it together. But on that long-winded note, Lee is the one who put together something that gets asked for every year since, is the Podcaster Jam. And what was it that you know, because we had a registered podcast group on Facebook, and I've kept that going every year. So Lee just started a conversation. They're going, "Hey, I'm a musician. Any of you other guys musicians?" And a bunch of them said yes. And he's like, "Why don't we play at the event?" And I was like, "Well, I'm looking for anything to fill time, so let's do it." And it wound up being. But what possessed you to want to do that?
Well, just the whole idea behind the first Rockin' Pod, I think initially was kind of just bringing the guys together. Like we all did these podcasts, guesting on each other's shows. Wouldn't it be cool if we all got in the same room together, regardless of if any listeners or any peripheral people show up? Let's just all get together and have a good time. And this was part of it. Like, after we're done the kind of day, why don't we have it take an hour and just pick up some guitars and play some tunes, right? Because we're all music fans and we're all kind of musicians, and a lot of us play, right? So we had this idea, and I was just like, I've experienced doing this kind of stuff, and I can put it together well, and I can kind of herd the cats, if you will, kind of thing, right? So I'm like, yeah, let's take an hour and we'll pick like, a dozen songs, and get you to play guitar on this one, you play drums on this one, I'll play bass over here, I'll play guitar over here, we'll have some fun, right? And it was a ball, and we tried to get it going for the next 3 Rockin' Pods, and there were some fun moments, right, with the people coming together and having some fun playing some tunes, which is what it's all about, right? We're just have some fun.
Well, that was one of the more that was one of the more pure fun parts of especially of the first year, because everyone because it was a busy day, and that was, I think, because none of us knew what to expect. It hadn't been done before, and everyone had a blast, and everyone got a lot of stuff recorded, but it was kind of exhausting. So by the time we got to everybody was ready to blow off steam and have fun. So it was the perfect timing for that. But
and then the cool thing about it too is the way we do it too, and the way I kind of organize it is we don't rehearse this, right? So what we do, we organize it prior, and we say, okay, we're gonna do shout it out loud in the key of G or whatever we're gonna do, right? Okay, everybody learn their parts, and we get on stage. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's hit it, right? There could be a couple of car wrecks in there, right? But there's also some great moments where we're like, wow, we actually pulled that off. It's pretty cool. I like doing that, and kind of flying by the seat of your pants, and under pressure. Let's see what we can do. Some fun stuff. We pulled it off.
Yeah, Ken Mills, pretty good bass player. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, Ken Mills played bass on Circle Sky. We did that Monkeys cover, and I remember I did Badlands with Joe Polo on drums and Brian Sword on bass. We did a good version of Rip It Out, Ace Frehley tune. I played drums. Julian sang that one. And what was the dude from the Kiss Room? He played all the shredding Ace stuff. Is it Gary?
No, he's from Podcast, Gary Schaller.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Podcast. Yeah, Gary Schaller. All of a sudden, he steps up there and he's got all these Ace licks down, like he's doing a total Ace solo. And we did Charisma too with Craig Smith, and he had that solo down too. Right, it was super fun.
Yeah, Gary was a good player. I was very impressed with him.
I didn't expect that, right? Because he just shows up and he's got his glasses on and his Star Wars shirt, right? And all of a sudden, he's like, I was like, wow, this guy totally rips.
Yeah, he was great. That first year was a blast, and then the second year would have been a blast, but we got derailed. Like 4 songs in, I think.
Well, that was the wackiest thing, because we're actually at the Nashville Palace, which is like a club, like a legendary club where they've had tons of the bands and stuff like that. And we do the whole Rockin' Pod like the whole day. And then, okay, now we're done. It's 6:00. We're going to jam for an hour. And we got 3 songs into it, and they're like, oh, it's too loud. You got to shut it down. Like that was a rock, man.
Well, it was because the guy that I rented the part of the building from hadn't been there all day. And the girl that worked at the Nashville Palace was in charge, and she was great to work with, easy to deal with, kind of said yes to everything. And then if you haven't been to Nashville Palace, we were in the big back room, but the front room is this just tiny little old school shack type area, but it's a bar there, and they have like really old school like bluegrass and stuff being played up there. But it's that's part of their tourist trap thing. And when I was negotiating it, I was like, why don't we just rent the whole venue out? And I was like, that front room can't be that much more. He's like, oh no, it is. That's $10,000 a day.
Wow. They must rent that. They just drink from like 11 to 11.
Yeah.
Something like that,
That's exactly what it is. But so anyway, so they were having music up there, but nobody was complaining. And then that guy showed up right as you guys were starting. And he came up to, he's like, that's too loud. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. They're only going to go for an hour. Yeah, but I got customers up front. You're going to interrupt them. And he shut us down, which really sucks, because other than that, it was a great day.
That was good. I think we got 3 songs in. I remember doing Honey Don't.
Yeah.
Guitar. Carl Perkins sang that. I mean, Craig Smith played bass on that because he loves that song so much. And we did a good version of Shock Me. And I played drums with, remember that cat, Jody Havnot?
Yeah, I love Jody. He was a great guy.
So he just stepped in on bass on that. And that was one of those great moments where, like, he can play and I can play. And we both know that song. Right. And I just counted it off, and we just sunk into a groove, and it was like, I remember me and him jamming together and just laying it down, and it was a great moment. So, I love those little moments like that. That was super fun.
Yeah, and I remember, and then in 2019, that was a wild one too. It was
that was a good one. Yeah, we had that little, like, almost side room there, right?
Yeah, the breakout room. Yeah, and that was a tiny little room, but we filled it up, especially when Ralph and Ian showed up.
What we did a Twisted Sister with them.
Yeah, you can't stop rock and roll. Yeah,
we did a great version of Rockin' in the Free World with Greg Troyan and Julian and Bill Elam on bass.
Yep.
Yeah, but you were supposed to play each time I've invited you to play, but you're always so busy you can't play, right? So
yeah. Hopefully
you'll have some time next year so you can get one song.
I'm 100% committed. Unless I'm dead, I will play the Podcaster Jam. And I want to do a Ramon song, because I'm just getting back into playing more not seriously, but I'm playing more often, and I'm good for AC/DC and Ramones, but that's about it right now. I mean, I'm pretty clunky when it comes to anything above that.
Yeah.
Chris Fretwell was there. But yeah, so on that note, I mentioned, Ian and Ralph doing You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. And I have an image of that. And
there's some good YouTube clips of some of these moments. Check them out.
That one is on, because Chris was asking that the You Can't Stop Rock and Roll performance, I believe, is on their channel on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's a great photo. That's got to be that song, I'm assuming, right there. Yeah. Who was on drums for that? I don't remember.
What was that guy's name? I didn't know him that well. Is it Kevin Williams?
Oh yeah, Kevin Williams from In Obscuria. Yeah, he's a great musician.
Yeah, he played on a bunch of songs that day. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a professional musician. Like he's done it as a job. Bill Elam and Dennis Talbot in the back there.
Yeah, Dennis. Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the announcement. This is something we're excited about. So this is going to be a little different this time. The Podcaster Jam is now going to be connected to the education track, which is something we usually would do during the expo. And for a lot of reasons, the biggest reason is the education track is being moved is because usually when it was going on, all the podcasters are just too busy to attend it. So it would just be a handful of people showing up that were just ticket buyers seeing it. So we wanted to have something where the podcasters could get something out of it. So we're moving the education track to Friday, the day before the expo. And we're going to have tons of cool stuff with this, because last year we had like thousands of dollars worth of stuff given away from great companies that are in the podcast industry, with like mics and headphones and audio interfaces, and Headliner, which is a great app that you can do cool stuff with AI for your podcast and, transcription. Like they had free memberships to their services. So we're going to have some of those companies come back and be involved, and we're looking at getting some big people in the podcasting and content creation industry to speak at this thing too. So it's going to be, it's the education track, but we're going to have fun with it, and we're going to it's going to be fun. And that'll be during the day on Friday, and it won't be at the fairgrounds. This is another exciting thing. This time we're going to get to go to a pretty historic place. It'll be at SIR Nashville. So this place, everyone and their brother has rehearsed for their tour at this place. It's a staple, and they've always been good to me, and we've rented gear from them in the past, and we're excited to do that there. And everything, as you can see in the picture, is set up for you at SIR. So it'll be show up with your guitar, plug in, and play at the end of the day. But can't be in the Podcaster Jam unless you pay to be part of the education track. So that's a side benefit of getting to do it. But sign up for the education track and hang out with us on Friday. And then after all this, we'll go to the show that night, the pre-party concert, like always. So it's going to be a fun day.
Yeah, I can't wait. It looks like there's some good gear there too, because previously we all had to bring our own stuff, right? So it was great. All the podcasters were chipping in. I'll bring my drum kit. I'll bring an amp. Each of us bring our guitar and range to borrow. But having some backline there is going to be a lot easier, and it'll sound good too. Yeah, it's going to be fun, man.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for that. But we're excited to work with SIR. They've always been great to us, and they've always been supportive. So it's nice to have them in the family. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, man, I mean, I can't wait to get up there and play, and then because I haven't played in forever. And so we have a question here. Chris wants to know, where do you purchase website? So the ROCKNPOD.com is still the website, but officially tickets, podcasters that have been in the past, just podcasters, have been able to register already. So that's been ongoing, but June 9th is the date we're targeting for the public on sale for everything else, or at least the stuff we have organized. There's still concerts and other stuff we have to put together. Like always, nothing's ever set in stone when we announce the dates. So this is normal. But just give us till like June 9th, and then at least the initial tickets will be on sale for everything. As far as the one thing I do wonder about is, because I think there's going to be non-podcasters that want to come to the podcaster jam. So we'll have to talk to Tracy about if that's possible and if we can make that happen. Otherwise, might just be an exclusive thing to podcasters. We'll have to see.
Well, it's super fun, so I could see why they would want to hang out with us and kick out the jam.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, and I'm glad you're coming back, because it's been a while since you've been in Nashville. But like, I remember the first year, and I think you've done this several times. You had like the perfect setup on your plan, because you came to Nashville for Rock and Pod, then you and a group of the guys went down to Memphis, and did you do Graceland?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you did Sun Records.
Yeah, man. Like, I can't go to Nashville and not go to Memphis. It's like two of my favorite places in the world, right? It's just 3 hours down the road. So, yeah, the first time I took a bunch of us. I remember there's probably like 5 or 6, and the second time, about 5 or 6 of us went to. We go to Memphis, go to Stax Museum and Sun Studios and Graceland and all that stuff. And the best one though was in the ROCKNPOD 3 for 2019. We did that same trip on the Sunday after, and I actually recorded a song at Sun Studios that night. So nice. that was an incredible thrill, one of the greatest nights of my life. And I had BJ Cramp was there, right? And we were having a good time. Yeah, so that was a great button on the end of that Rockin' Pod.
On that first trip, didn't you guys go by Ardent and see Jody?
Yeah, we went by Ardent. Jody wasn't there though, but we took a walk through there. Yeah, that was cool. I love going to all the old studios and seeing all the magic and the vibes and stuff like that. I was just down in Muscle Shoals, and I went to the Fame and the Muscle Shoals studios and everything. I just love it, being in those rooms where some of this magical music was created. Like, the vibe is still there. It's still in the fabric, the carpet, and the wood has still got that mojo in there. I just like being in the room and soaking the vibes up.
Yeah, I was jealous when I saw the Muscle Shoals pictures. I'm like, damn, that must have been fun. But
it's so cool, man. You just walk in there and you're like, man, it's fucking 1973 here,
Right. Speaking of that, have you heard of the studio here in Nashville called Welcome to 1979?
No. So
it's a buddy of mine's studio, and it was set up a few years ago. There was a United record pressing plant in West Nashville, and he bought the whole building, and it'd been like kind of abandoned for years. But he took a good chunk of it and he created a studio, period correct, with all gear from 1979 and earlier.
Wow. Does it all work? Guy must have to spend a fortune getting it serviced like every month, so all the stuff breaking down,
I'm sure that's been a headache. But yeah, even like the furniture and the lava lamp and like everything. It literally looks like you step in a time warp. And we're looking at trying to do something with them next year. I'm supposed to have lunch with him sometime soon. But yeah, because I go back like 20 years with him. But he was like, yeah, let's do something. So maybe we might do some kind of recording seminar or something. I don't know. Yeah. But it's a great little place to see music get made. Tyler Bryant, the Shakedown, did a live album there like a year ago. So.
Oh, I think I heard about that. Didn't they they recorded it live, and it was like they cut it right to vinyl or something like that? After they recorded? Is that the deal? Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, it sounds awesome too.
Mistakes and all. That's what you get, man.
Yep.
We'll try.
Yeah. But it sounds so good raw like that, you know. And I saw them live a few weeks ago, and they're incredible live band. Loved them. I don't know. What are you listening to other than obviously Bruce? I mean, what about you? I'm sure you listen to a ton of stuff.
I listen to a ton of stuff though, but the one thing though, I can't listen. I can't get into new artists, right? Like this guy offered me a ticket for some artist, Charlie Crockett. He's like a country American guy, Americana kind of guy. I don't know. I just can't get into new music. I don't know what it is. Like I love 20th century music, right? Like
All right.
you know, there's still songs from the 60s I haven't heard yet, so I don't have time to hear a new song with a new band. I don't know. You know, I try to listen, but it just doesn't grab me. You know, I don't know what it is. But I don't know. I'm happy liking the music I like. I like old music, right? Like I was listening to Little Richard today. I was like listening to Stax music. The Donnas I was listening to. I love the Cardigans, right? I like Stray Cats. You know, Steve Earle, Hank Williams, Willie Nelson. Like that's what I listen to. You know, and I can still get new material from these artists that I haven't heard yet, right? So
right. Oh, Myra Chapman had a question for you. Thoughts on Graceland? What was your favorite room?
Oh man, the whole place is great. And I was just there recently, and the cool thing about this trip to Graceland was I went by myself. Usually I have people there, and I'm, you know, explaining, oh, this was this, and I'm kind of giving them a little bit of the Lee tour as we're going, right? But this time I went by myself, so I could just spend like as long as I want, just like with the Aloha from Hawaii jumpsuit and just standing there and just taking the essence in, right? And I didn't have someone going, okay, let's go over to the next exhibit, right? Rushing me along, but
right.
The rooms in Graceland, I don't know, they're all great. The living room is great with the big long white couch and the white carpet and the piano room. And, you know, the basement is cool. You have the TV room with the blue and yellow and the TCB and the 3 TVs. And then across there, you have the pool room. The jungle room is great because it's so funky looking, right? And he would
that's wild.
albums there. Probably the jungle room would be my favorite room in Graceland. Yeah,
there's
such a
one of a kind place. And thank God it didn't actually get auctioned like they were warning about like a week ago.
Yeah, that was wacky. I think it was something weird, like Lisa Marie borrowed money from some company and she put Graceland up as collateral, and then she passed away. So then this company wanted to collect the money that she owed, and they wanted to take it from Graceland, but it was a fraudulent deal to begin with. So I don't know, some wacky.
Yeah, it must have been like a loan shark type thing. Maybe I don't know. Like it was.
And then you have like the granddaughter and Priscilla are like fighting over possession, right? Because I guess Riley Keough kind of has the ownership from Lisa Marie passing away, but Priscilla's always trying to get in there, right? I don't know about Priscilla, right? Like Elvis divorced her in like fucking 73, but she's still like clinging on to this Elvis legacy like 50, 60 years later. I don't know, man. She's his ex-wife.
So some people are saying the same thing about Valerie Bertinelli with Eddie. Yeah, they're like, you divorced how long ago? But and you're his soulmate. You're remarried. Get on with your life. But
she's not trying to own Eddie land and make money.
No, that's true. Yeah,
Priscilla just put out like some trashy like mini series, Priscilla and Elvis and Me, some bullshit. I didn't even watch it, but
yeah, I don't know. So I'm assuming. Yeah. Oh, all right. And I remember you had a very angry response when I posted that I enjoyed the Elvis movie a couple years ago.
Well, yeah, I've lightened up a little bit on that. When I first saw it was extremely offensive to me, and I really lashed out a little bit. Like that was right after I first saw it. I've since seen it about 3 or 4 times, and I can get into some of it and some of the artistic qualities, and there are some really cool moments in it.
Yeah,
but I was just really offended by some of the moments where they took liberties with dialogue and things people said to each other from people that aren't alive to validate any of these things, right? Like the whole like Tom Parker storyline was just so offensive that this whole movie is told from the perspective of this crook.
Yeah.
And not only from his perspective, but from his perspective while he's on like this drip and he's full of morphine and you're supposed to be in his head as he's remembering Elvis's life. Like that's a ridiculous premise to base a movie on, you know? So I was offended by a lot of that, but
yeah, I didn't like that either because growing up in Nashville, of course, Elvis was just drilled into your DNA when you grew, especially if you grew up in the 80s, because everyone wasn't over it yet. So, you know, I heard all kinds of stories about Colonel Tom Parker and how underhanded he was. He had a house out here but very shady guy, also possibly murdered somebody too. I don't know if you've looked into that or not, but like a lot of people think Elvis wouldn't play overseas because Parker was gonna get arrested if he went overseas because he had.
Yeah, he was an illegal alien in America. Like he's from Dutch or he's Holland immigrant or something like that. He didn't have correct papers. That's why Elvis never toured, outside of America.
And he did, and his voice sounded nothing like what Tom Hanks was doing. He didn't have an accent. It was a weird portrayal too, right? Like the cat that was playing Elvis, he was pretty good. He was great.
Tom Hanks was weird in the fat suit and everything like that. And it's just weird.
Yeah, it was not good. But yeah, did I ever tell you the story about the office I worked in that was connected to Elvis a few years back?
No, what do you got there? What's that about?
I think I was working there when the first ROCKNPOD happened. So I was working in this. It was an office building that. The company I worked for, it was just a medical billing office, but the building had several offices in it. But I could tell when I started working there, I was like, this is a kind of a funky, weird building because it smelled musty. You could tell it was from like the 70s. And the guy that owned the building it was like a medical construction company. Like they would build hospitals out of that office. And the guy would be around sometimes and I would talk to him and then he started telling me, he's like, do you know who used to own this building? And I was like, no. He's like, Elvis did. And of course at the time I'm like, you're full of shit, you're just saying this. And then he produced paperwork and showed me, and apparently, and I always thought it was odd that there was racquetball courts in the basement part of this building. It's because it's an office upstairs and then it's racquetball courts. Weird, and like a sauna downstairs.
And this is in Nashville area, right?
In Nashville, right off the I-65. So it's a quick hop, skip, and a jump to Music Row. And he's like, yeah, Elvis bought this building or set this building up in the 70s. And it was basically a stop off for him to do business. Elvis Presley Enterprises ran out of the building from late 70s, early 80s. And Elvis would go play racquetball there when he was in town doing sessions. It was like a kind of a private place he could go to. And and it was just weird. He showed me paperwork, Elvis Presley Enterprises. I'm like, that's just bizarre.
Wow, it's pretty cool. Yeah, Elvis got into racquetball like in the late 70s. They actually built like a racquetball building on the back of Graceland there. He got into it so much,
Yeah. I heard that there was like a racquetball chain that he was going to start, or around the time he died, he was trying to do, or I think he opened a few and they bombed, but they didn't do well. Racquetball's a rich guy's game. Average Joes aren't going to play racquetball.
Well, you need like a whole like room to do it. Like how many like gyms have racquetball courts, right? It was a whole thing. You have to go to this place where they had a racquetball court, and you get the nice little track suit and the paddles, right?
Yeah, and right not long before I left that job, the building got bought by another company. It was I think it was an architecture company, and they destroyed the racquetball courts and turned them into offices. And I was just kind of bummed. I'm like, man, that's another piece of Elvis is going away.
Yeah, Elvis probably sweat on those floors, right?
I guarantee he did. Yeah. Just wild. And my uncle got to meet him once. My uncle worked for for Bell Telecom in Memphis, so he'd go out and fix phone lines. And this is in the 70s. And he wasn't even an Elvis fan, but his wife, my aunt, was a huge fan. And he got called out at 2 a.m. one night because all the phone lines went down at Graceland for some reason or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was something important was going on where the phone for some reason needed to be working at 2 a.m. So they dispatched my uncle out, woke him up out of a dead sleep to go fix Elvis's phone line.
Well, that's the middle of the day for Elvis, man. Elvis didn't probably wake up till like 6 o'clock,
Yeah, but he said Elvis hung out while they worked on it and talked to him, and they just had small talk for like half an hour. And before he walked out, Elvis handed him a signed photo, and my aunt and uncle still have that signed photo at their house.
It's fucking awesome. That's worth a lot. Elvis signature autographs are worth a lot. Elvis was just a shy, humble country boy, man. He was a salt of the earth kind of guy,
Did you ever see the Orion documentary?
No, but that story is wacky, though. I think I maybe did. It's on YouTube. I think I probably did watch that a long time ago.
That whole story, like some people actually think he's Elvis's brother.
Yeah.
That kind of tripped me out. There's so many weird myths and scenarios about Elvis. It's wild. Oh man, I know I was going to get into a ROCKNPOD live stream was going to turn into an Elvis discussion, but that's
Elvis.
Cool.
Yeah, Elvis is everywhere, man.
Yeah, Mojo Nixon told us. Yeah. All right, but yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it kind of short. But before we go, we got to talk about the new podcast you've got going on.
Oh yeah, Strange Brood, the fleshy-headed minute.
Yeah, well, only you and BJ would come up with an idea. This podcast covers the movie Strange Brew in a weird way. Explain exactly what you guys do with this.
Okay, so there's these things. I don't know if you know about that. They're in the podcast world. They're called minute podcasts, movie minutes, where you take a movie and you break it down minute by minute, right? So this is what happens in minute 5. This is what happens in minute 6, and you just analyze the movie that way, minute by minute, right? So BJ had this idea. He's a big film guy, and he's like, "Would you want to do one of these minute podcasts?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, man. There's probably only like a couple of movies I could do that about, like Rocky and maybe Strange Brew, right?" He goes, "Well, I'll do Strange Brew." So I'm like, yeah, "Okay, let's do it." So we started it like during the start of COVID, like spring 2020,
Yeah.
And we kind of just stockpiled episodes, and we just started putting them out, like I think like maybe Boxing Day or just before the New Year's, or maybe even January 1st, we started putting them out. And we put out 3 a week, and they're short episodes. Some of them get long. Some of them go to like 20, 30 minutes, but for the most part, they're like between 5 and 15 minutes. And we're just breaking down this movie classic Strange Brew minute by minute, and we go off on side tangents and talk about like back bacon sandwiches and like goalie skates and like pajamas and, getting a mouse into a bottle and all that great stuff. But yeah, it's super fun. I encourage people to check it out.
Yeah, I listened to the first 2. They were like the introduction episodes, and then I just fast forwarded to like episode or to minute 50 or something, and just to listen. But yeah, I like it. It's not exclusively about the movie. Like you guys go off on tangents, and you'll mention other things that people did. And of course, Second City gets a lot of talk, which is
for sure. Yeah,
it has to, because I mean that's what spawned it. But I saw you mention that at some point you're going to try to get Dave Thomas to come on.
Well, that's the thrill. That's the goal, right? Like for the very last episode, we would like to talk to Dave.
Right.
So we haven't started yet, but I guess we're going to try and reach out to his people and just say, "Hey, man, look at this episode here. You got one Canadian, you got one American, and we're going in depth on this movie. So here's a couple of sample episodes. Would you talk to us for half an hour? Hopefully, right? Because we talked to Pam Griffin, who played Pam, Lynn Griffin, who played Pam. We talked to Angus McInnes, who played Rosie in the movie. We talked to Steve DeJarnett, one of the production guys, one of the writers, right? So we have some interview episodes. We did a focus on Ian Thomas, who does the theme song "Strange Brew" for the movie. We did a whole great episode where I talked to one of my buddies who's like a history teacher, and we compared Strange Brew to Shakespeare, like with Hamlet and Macbeth, and the way there's similarities in the script, right? Like because Strange Brew is loosely based on the play Hamlet, right, by Shakespeare. So there's all these crazy connections, right? So
I didn't even know that.
It's a lot of fun. Eh?
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I mean, and I need to go back and watch it again because I haven't seen it since I must have been like 10 the last time I saw that movie. But it was at a time where my brother and I were fortunate for a time to have HBO at home. So HBO, for some reason, decided to run it all the time. Yeah. And we would just, back in those days, you didn't have very many options. So you can watch Reading Rainbow or Strange Brew, and I would pick Strange Brew.
Yeah, it's a classic. I've probably seen it, I don't know, 50, 60 times.
Wow.
It's definitely a once a year viewing for me,
Well, definitely good interaction with you and BJ on that. It's a fun listen for sure.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, check
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do the Rocky one when you're done with this one.
No, man, I don't know. I think I'm done with podcasts after this. I'm just trying to. It's all the energy I have to try and finish this Strange Brew podcast. We're almost at the finish line.
How many of us always say, "I think I'm almost done with podcast," and then the next year they're doing another one?
Yeah, because I'm editing all these Strange Brewed ones too, right? So I got out of the Springsteen one, and I'm still editing the Strange Brewed ones. And they're not as intense as doing the Tramps Like Us episodes, but it still takes a lot of work, Because once you set the bar level high, right? You don't want to half-ass it. You want to do something cool.
Did you ever have any contact with the Bruce camp when you were doing Tramps Like Us?
The what? The Bruce camp?
Bruce's camp.
Bruce camp. No, but I know a few of the band members have listened to it. I know Max Weinberg has listened to it. I know Steve Van Zandt has listened to it, and he's mentioned a couple episodes that he likes.
Nice.
I don't know. Maybe Bruce has heard it. Maybe it's been mentioned, but I don't know. Bruce never came after me for using music, right? Because I play his songs in the episodes and stuff like that, right? And I never got shut down. I remember there was that period a few years ago where a lot of our podcast buddies were getting shut down for using music. So I don't know
if
I just flew under the radar and I wasn't getting enough listens for people to pay attention, or if they just ignored it. But I don't know. They let me alone. And
well, whatever it is, be thankful, because we went through that and it was not a fun experience. Yeah. But it actually I think it made our show better because it forced me, Aaron and I, to change up how we did the show.
Yeah.
And I think it wound up being better for it. But yeah, but Radio Sucks episodes where I could just play a whole song, can't do that no more.
Yeah.
You know, but, we still do them, but it's from like independent bands or labels that we have clearances from. So.
Yeah, I guess the big artists are just looking to find any way they can to make money off the music that they can't really sell anymore, right? So, but I always look at it like I'm promoting the music.
Yeah,
you know, like I'm definitely turning more people onto Springsteen records than if I wasn't doing it. You know, I've definitely sold albums because people heard songs on my show. You know, I don't think there's someone that looks like, I'm not going to buy that album because I heard it on the podcast, or right, you know, like so.
Yeah, it's.
But I understand that I'm using someone else's intellectual property. That's why I never took any kind of payment or any kind of money, you know, for doing the show. That's kind of how I justified it with myself for using that kind of music.
Just don't start an Eagles podcast. I've heard things.
Why is there an Eagles podcast that's getting shut down? Those guys are a bunch of pricks. I mean, well, Don Henley.
No, I just mean Don Henley in general. Anything related to anything they do.
Mike Love are like my two most hated artists ever, I think.
Him and who?
Mike Love, the dude from the Beach Boys.
Oh, Mike Love. Oh, yeah. Mike. He's an asshole. Yeah, I don't like him. Did you ever see the Beach Boys Hall of Fame induction? Wow, what a speech!
Oh yeah, didn't he cut up like Mick Jagger or something like that?
Yeah, he cut up a bunch of people. Mick Jagger was one saying like, I bet Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger don't have the balls to be up here tonight, thinking they weren't there. And then they do the All-Star Jam at the end, and Mick Jagger's on stage doing Satisfaction. And Mike Love looks mortified. And he's trying to like act like they're rocking out together, and Mick is just ignoring the fuck out of him.
The guy's one of the most insecure musicians of all time. He's just, because Brian Wilson is the Beach Boys, but here's Mike Love, the lead singer, and he gets no credit. He's like the only guy left in the band, and I don't know. And that goofy baseball hat.
I'm glad it says the Beach Boys on it, because otherwise I wouldn't know who I was watching, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Greg Troyan's on the stream. Wow, there's a name I haven't seen in a while. Dude, we got to talk.
I just saw him a couple weeks ago, man. We got a burrito and hung out.
Oh, man, I'm jealous. Yeah, we worked in the same building before we all got sent home to work from home. So I used to see him pretty regularly. Good to hear from you, Greg.
Yeah, he's a good cat.
Yeah, we got to hang out and listen to some Lizzie sometime. He does a great reaction video channel on YouTube, reacting to everything in the Lizzie catalog, including like all the side projects and everything. It's really interesting.
Yeah, he's got a creative mind, that guy, man. He's always doing something.
And then Myra has a suggestion. They're saying Geezer and Ozzy are doing another Sabbath tour. Do a Black Sabbath podcast. Are you a Sabbath fan at all?
Yeah, I love Black Sabbath. Not enough to do a podcast, but yeah, they're one of the greatest bands of all time.
You are mysterious and elusive. I missed the lipstick panel. He had a great podcast there for a while. That was a fun show.
Yeah, I was on a few of those episodes. Good.
Yeah, it was fun I think we were on together on a couple of them, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, his band played the third ROCKNPOD too, right?
Yep. Yeah, they were on the pre-party concert.
Yeah.
So,
lots of fun, man. Yeah, lots of good friends I've met from this ROCKNPOD and podcast community, man. Yeah,
that 2019 one was a big leap forward to go from the strip mall to the Nashville Palace to that.
Yeah, an actual big banquet hall room, you know.
Yeah.
Like multiple rooms we had too going, you know.
And then we did that in 2021. It wasn't as big in that hotel, but you know, you had to take the venue you could get, but it went off good there. And then last year, I'm sure you saw some photos. The room is gigantic, and we're going back there again next year.
That's the same place. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. 36,000 square feet. It's huge. So.
Wow. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to coming back and jamming with everybody and saying hello and having some laughs, having some beers.
Maybe I can see if Dave Thomas will come to ROCKNPOD.
Yeah, maybe we should do a panel. Maybe we should get me and BJ will get a strange brewed rock and or roll table going.
Try to get a beer sponsor. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah, we thought about trying to get Sebastian Bach on the show because we know he loves SCTV.
That would be great. Yeah, he's not the greatest guy, but he's gold on a microphone on a podcast. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Oh, Greg Troyan chiming in. Lipstick Panel is back. Kind of. The old group does live stream rankings of Taylor Swift albums on my channel. Oh man. Lipstick Panel, when it's covering Kiss, I'm all about. I don't know about the Taylor Swift thing. I'm not a Swiftie. And yes, I'm a Chiefs fan, but that doesn't mean I have to be a Swiftie. But
I'm sure he gets a lot of listeners on those, regardless of the two of us listening.
Oh yeah, we're not the demographic for that show. But so all right, so now so it's something I talked about at the beginning before we went on air. I do this stupid thing every week with whoever the one-on-one guest is. So first off, what are your thoughts on AI being used in creative endeavors and in the music industry? Are you for or against, or kind of in the middle?
I guess I'm against it. You know, like it just sounds fake, and like the word fake has nothing to do with music to me. Like as soon as I know it's fake, I don't want any part of it. I like real music. Like I don't know. Like it's good for advancements in technology, but as far as removing the human element of it, I don't know. I don't like it. Like the way AI was used in the that Beatles Now and Then song, I think is great to be able to take a track and use AI to technically make the track sound mixed properly or whatever. But if remember, there was a rumor before that track came out that maybe they used AI to create a John Lennon voice. Totally against that, right? Like I don't like that stuff.
Right.
So I guess it's a fine line a little bit, but
just depends on what it's being used for.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah. It just seems to be getting a little bit out of hand sometimes, you know, and not knowing what's real and not. And I don't know. It's
on that note,
using it in live shows and tracks, and when it's involved in that way too.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Just if you can't play, then don't play. But so anyway, what I've been doing is so I had Matt Porter on the first week, and then I had Baco on last week, and what I do is I take the person's podcast description, just what I find online of how the podcast is laid out. I go to a AI engine called Udio that a lot of people use for fake music, and I feed in just the description of your podcast, and it spits out a song.
Like a theme song or something like that?
Yes, like a theme song. Right. And it cuts off abruptly because I didn't bother doing the work to like finish it and everything, but then I take the audio that it creates, and then I put it into a thing called Veed, which is an AI video engine, and it created a like a subtitle video, like a lyric video. So are you ready to see the Strange Brood AI generated video theme song?
Yeah, I'm excited. I thought you were going to do Tramps Like Us, and I'd be like, it's just going to be a generic Springsteen sounding thing. But
no,
yeah, I'm excited for this one. Give me some Strange Brood.
So here's Strange Brood's debut of their one and only time they'll probably ever hear this theme song. I'll get it to play. Hang on just a second.
One dream. Minute by minute, we're breaking it down. Whoa. From the beer to the laughs, yeah. Fleshy headed, it's a crazy path. They'll make you see that 83 scene through the eyes of a brewski fiend.
Awesome, right?
Yeah, great lyrics. The music is a little bit to leave something to be desired, though. I'd like to hear more of like a classic rock 70s kind of April Wine, Rush kind of, you know, vibe for like I think the Hosers would be more into, but good lyrics though.
Yeah, I did one for Baco's new sidecast called Hard 180 about all the 80s metal bands, and then I did one for I think it was for the Kiss Room, or no, I did one just for ROCKNPOD the first week with Matt. But yeah, that's because Matt was asking. I must have seen this after I played. Yeah, that was the new AI song, Matt, for Lee, and you can I can send that to BJ if you want to, switch out your theme song because that's just brilliant. I know. That was the sum effort of 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Well, it is amazing what you can do with that kind of technology, you know.
Yeah. But anyway, on the way out, thank you for joining us. Do you want to go ahead and plug anything before you go, or just Strange Brew the podcast?
Yeah, check out Strange Brew, the Fleshy-Headed Minute. That's a fun podcast. And if you want to learn anything about my music, check out moonviolet.com. It links to my Facebook page, and you can find out stuff about Lee McCormack music there.
Well, it's been great to have you on, and you didn't get to see this, so I'll play it again. Then this will be the play out song. It'll be the stupid ROCKNPOD AI theme that I came up with, and we'll go out with that. Thanks, Lee.
Okay, thanks, eh?
All right, see ya.
Gather round now, dive into the sound. Panels lined up where the legends are found. Hard rock echoes through halls. Come one, come all. Vinyl stacks high where the memories call. Signatures inked, memories bind. The stories of mental intricately twined. Autographs flash, the legends alive. Riffs and tales from 85. Ow! Podcast stream. The interviews raw. Fan hearts racing, always craving more. Comics unfold, a culture so vast in the rock-on world. The icons last.
Hey.
That's a hit.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're gone. See you guys.